This episode brought to you by Sparkbox, a weekly subscription for untraceable flammables and accelerants. Buy the arsonist in your life a subscription to Sparkbox today. Go to sparkbox.biz/horror and enter in the code I am a fire god at the checkout to receive a free pair of binoculars.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk, the horror movie podcast where two schlubby guys talk about spoopy movies. With your hosts Bryce Hanson, the cool collected nihilist, and David Day, an angry man who is always right. This podcast is for lovers of horror movies old and new that want to hear about what's in theaters, what's streaming, fresh takes on old classics, and terrible horror movies that are bad enough to be good. You can find our website at horrormovietalk.com to listen to past episodes. You'll also find convenient links to subscribe to our podcast feed on our social media. We love feedback, so, please leave us a review on iTunes and message us on Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff, because we love hearing from you. Today, we will be talking about Puppet Master, the Littlest Reich. We start out by giving an overview of our review and our score for the movie. Our score is based on a 1 to 10 scale, 1 being a miserable, horrible dredge of a movie, where it makes you just very angry with how bad the movie is. 5 is an average or passable film. Nothing stand out terribly, nothing to make you very upset or very happy with it. Just kind of a meh of a film. And 10 being so good that it's not only one of the greatest horror movies, but it transcends the genre and is one of the greatest movies of all time. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deep dive into what we liked and hated about the film. Later in this episode, you'll be hearing us read some taglines that we made up for Puppet Master, the Littlest Reich. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Slayer concert I went to because it was awesome. Hey, thanks again for listening, and so let's get in the show.
I'm Bryce Hanson.
And I'm David Day.
You want to just play the trailer right now?
Yeah.
Here's the trailer.
Warning. This motion picture is one of the most violent films ever made. There are 21 scenes of puppet violence and sadistic cruelty graphically shown. The content and subject matter may be upsetting for those under 18, those with weak hearts, and those of delicate nature.
This cellar workshop is where André Toulon manufactured puppets. It is unclear how many of these puppets were made, though 60 or so of them are expected to be in Postville by tomorrow for the auction.
That's not mine. I don't really know how that got here.
Maybe it walked.
Hello. Jesus. Well, you definitely seem like a toy that a maniac would make.
What the...
Why would anybody create a Nazi puppet?
They're little, they're fast. Anne Frank was hiding in your attic. Puppet could find her.
Don't ask. Don't ask.
So this movie was fun. It was funny. It was completely inappropriate. Puppet Master, Littlest Reich can be found on all streaming platforms. The quick rundown of the movie is Edgar finds a puppet in his parents' house and quickly realizes that it was created by the infamous André Toulon, a Nazi who also happened to be a skilled puppet maker. He finds out that there's going to be an auction of André's puppets, and he decides that he could use the money. So he takes a trip to the hotel where the auction is taking place. Coincidentally, this hotel is near the Puppet Master's residence, and the gathering of puppet collectors in this hotel is a perfect place for what ends up being, according to the movie, the second Holocaust. Just,
Is that the official tagline?
No,
for the movie?
No, I don't think it is, but they hinted at it a few times.
I see.
Yeah, throughout. So my score of this movie, I went back and forth a little bit between a 6 and a 7. I kind of ended up on a high 6, so I just went 7 with it.
Yeah. I feel like being kind of generous with this one too, because it was a lot of fun to watch. And I mean, it's not a good movie per se. I mean, it's great for what it is and for what it aims to be, which is schlock.
Right.
It's that in spades.
Full schlock.
Yeah. So for what it is, it's definitely a 7.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. If you keep those things in mind, it is definitely a 7. If schlock is not something you appreciate, this is probably a 6 or so. It's funny enough and offensive enough. And that's the other thing. If you're easily offended, this movie is not for you. This is an incredibly offensive movie.
If you heard the title Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich, and you're like, I'm on board, then this is the movie for you.
If you heard it and went, boy, that sounds like it's in bad taste. Accurate. Don't go see it.
Right.
Bad idea for you.
All right, so let's start talking about the plot and get into spoilers. Spoilers.
So this is I don't know if I should be embarrassed to say this. I'm not too embarrassed to say it, but this is my first foray into Puppet Master.
Yeah. My first question when we decided to watch this movie was, am I going to be able to follow it if I haven't seen the first 11 Puppet Masters? 12? And the answer is, I mean, kind of.
This is a reboot.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a reboot. I mean,
it's considered a reboot.
It's a soft reboot.
It's a soft reboot.
That's what the Red Letter Media guys would say.
Yeah.
It's definitely a sequel because there's a bunch of stuff that you don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, that is true.
Like, Toulon is some weird demon
Nazi
dude when he comes out at the end, whereas in the beginning you just see him as kind of just a regular dude.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like the other 12 movies kind of plays around.
My understanding of the previous movies is, so there's a cohesiveness between 1 through 4, and then that kind of gets thrown out the window on 5, 6. Demonology aspect that starts taking hold, and this is a continuation of that.
Yeah,
kind of.
And there's like prequels and pre-prequels along the way. Actually, one of the things that was kind of interesting to me, I read the what was the James Franco movie about the room?
Oh, the Disaster Artist.
Disaster Artist. So I read, well, I didn't read, but I listened to the audiobook of The Disaster Artist with the guy that plays Mark in The Room.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. He wrote this book, and apparently his big break was in the prequel to Puppet Master. He played a young Andre Toulon.
Oh, that's sad. I don't
Andre Toulon. Note the pronunciation.
That was Barbara Crampton, by the way. Yeah, this movie has a few heavy hitters in it. It has, heavy hitters as far as straight to streaming movies go. So you got Lieutenant Dangle from Reno 911, Thomas Lennon. He's the main character, Edgar. You have Barbara Crampton, who plays kind of like, they give her a decent enough role that she's not exactly an extra, but she like progresses the storyline.
I think she was in like several of the previous ones. I think she's a continuation character.
That would make sense.
Like, cause she's introduced as one of the cops that shot Andre Toulon.
Yeah. Note the pronunciation.
Andre Toulon. Note the pronunciation.
She's, for those of you who don't know, Barbara Crampton is a horror movie staple. You get points just for having her in your movie, no matter how dumb it is. So, And then there's Charlene Yee, who's a comedian and actress. You'd recognize her from a few Jonah Hill-ish kind of movies, I think she's in.
Yeah, and the other guy, you can hear my baby crying in the background. The other guy that you might recognize is the friend, Thomas Lennon's friend. He's been in Veep before.
Oh, okay. I've never seen Veep.
So it's kind of interesting because, like, between him, Thomas Lennon, and Charlene Yee, they're very recognizable faces for comedy. And especially Thomas Lennon is completely straight.
Yeah,
it's like 100% straight. Like, there's not, I mean, there's a little bit of comedy, but this is not a funny movie per se, other than just the concept of puppets killing people in very tasteless ways. Yeah.
So it kind of starts out with Lieutenant Dangle, as I will be calling him, Thomas Lennon or Edgar. 3 names. Let's see here. I'm going with Lieutenant Dangle. It starts out with Lieutenant Dangle kind of being bummed that he's living back in his parents' house, and he's like, he just got a divorce, and he's bummed on life, and he's a comic artist, and so he's back at his parents' house, and he's looking through the stuff in his old closet, or his brother's old closet, I should say, his brother who died tragically in a puppet related accident.
Does it say how he died?
I mean, it's basically, he died that one time.
Yeah.
Like, I can't really recall exactly what happened, but, he collected the puppet that Lieutenant Dangle found, and Lieutenant Dangle, sorry, go ahead.
What happened was he asked his parents, where did, dead brother find this puppet? And they said, he said he brought it home from summer camp.
Yeah.
And he just found it or something.
Yeah.
So he didn't buy it or collect it. He just happened into it.
Yeah.
And then there's a big auction of André Toulon and all of his puppets at a place. And Dangle thinks, hey, maybe I could sell this and get some cash. Dude also works in a comic book shop.
He's a comic book artist.
Oh, that's
or
right.
Writer, or both. It doesn't really allude to which is interesting because Puppet Master has been a long-standing comic. I can't recall who actually produces or puts out these the Puppet Master comics. If you head down to your local comic book shop and ask to be signed up for Puppet Master, they'll know exactly what you're talking about. So yeah, there is that. So they kind of give a nod to Puppet Master in the movie about the comics, and I remember early on in the movie when it's setting up the characters of Edgar and his love interest and his friend, it's all in the comic book store. And I just watch as David kind of lights up and he's like, I love this. This is my favorite.
I love this movie because hits all the bases for David. Talks about comics, talks about obscure, like, death metal genres.
Well,
in quick succession.
Metal genres. Because death metal is a subgenre of metal. He's like, he wants to bring it. He wants to go, Lieutenant Dangle is leaving with his new girlfriend who has very nice boobs. But I know this because you see them several times, I think, in this movie.
No, I think you only see them once.
Okay. Well, agree to disagree.
I mean,
I can't remember how many boobs I saw in this movie.
You see both of them. So, I mean, does that count as 2?
Yeah.
Okay, you see twice. See him twice.
So anyway,
Once each.
His boss wants to go with him to his boss at the comic book store wants to go with him to the puppet auction, and he's like, "No, okay, fine, but there will be no black metal, grindcore. There will be no death metal. There'll be no metalcore. There'll be no deathcore." he touches on all of it. And at that point, the movie gained 1 whole point for me. I was like, yeah, okay.
It's like, you get me.
Yeah.
You get me, Puppet Master.
It really,
Littlest Reich.
it really, really does. Like it's, I mean, you know who you are.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good intro to the movie. And even when they get to the convention, they go to the mansion, Toulon's mansion, and
yeah, they have a little walkthrough of his mansion,
and they learn
André Toulon. Note the pronunciation.
How to pronounce his name,
right?
And Barbara Crampton is she a retired cop security guard, or is she still a cop?
I don't know. She had a gun.
She had a gun. It wasn't super clear, and I was kind of confused why. It must be a hard life if she's a museum tour guide for an obscure killer.
It was at exactly that point that you had to start suspending your disbelief.
Right, exactly.
It is exactly that point, because after that, a bunch of puppets started killing people.
All hell breaks loose after that. And it kind of sets your expectations of, okay, this is a real movie. There's going to be a storyline. And look, they're using this time as an exposition to like explain what happened before in the previous 12 movies to set it up. And then, now that we got all that out of the way, now there's going to be stuff and drama that happens between Edgar and his girlfriend and all these other people. And just nope.
No time for that, idiot. It's time for puppets to kill people. Yeah, no, it was a fun setup. It was like a 35-minute setup.
Right.
in a 90-minute movie.
Right.
And it was fun and it was funny and it had nods to all the things you want as a horror movie fan or a metal fan or a comic book fan or a whatever fan.
Right. It just had a lot of really great horror movie deaths with lots of gore and tastelessness.
It was great. One of the best lines. I'm going to ruin it, but this is in the spoiler section, so I don't feel so bad. You should have listened. When they're checking into the hotel, the guy behind the counter who's checking them in says, "Okay, I have someone named Merkowitz." And he looks and he looks at Lieutenant Dangle's friend or his boss, and he goes, "You must be Merkowitz." And Merkowitz goes, "What does that mean? Is it because I look like a Jew?" And
he's like, "Are you Merkowitz?
Are you Merkowitz?" He's like, "Yes." He's like, "Well, then there's no problem." It's like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
And so that actually brings us to the point where. So Nazi puppet maker, right? Hates Jews, hates blacks, does not like homosexuals. There's a little piece at the start of the movie where he's, the puppet master, Toulon, is
André Toulon.
Thanks.
Note the pronunciation.
Thanks, Barbara. There's a point where he's in a bar and he like asks the waitress if
she knows the other. No, he asked the girl at the bar,
are they acquainted with each other?
Right.
He asked these two girls if they're acquainted with each other, and they start kissing. And he's like, "Oh, homosexuals." And then he storms out.
Yeah.
So he does not like, all the things that Nazis wouldn't like. And as it turns out, all the people who collect his puppets are conveniently... They hit all the beats. There's Jews, there's black people, there's homosexual people.
They even throw a gypsy in there, apparently.
Oh, I was trying to figure out like, what did he get killed for?
I don't know. Even they mention it later. They're like pointing out, look at who's died. We've got gay people, black people, a gypsy. I'm like, oh, well, which one was the gypsy? I guess I'm not good on my
the guy who was banging the porn star.
Okay.
He had to have been. He was kind of swarthy.
Yeah. So, yeah, but basically all those concentration camp check marks were checked.
Yeah.
That's who the puppets were going after, but also everyone else. So,
right.
But those were the first ones. I mean, they prioritize.
Right.
So yeah, the puppet deaths were adorable. and cheesy, and just made me harken back to a different day of straight to VHS horror, where it just looks so stupid.
Yeah,
but you gotta love it.
Yeah, and I mean,
there's no way you can make it look good to have a little tiny puppet kill someone. There's no way to not make it look ridiculous.
The first kill was a flamethrower puppet who was owned by a Jewish couple, notably Jewish because he was wearing his yarmulke, and they're having a conversation about how it was empowering as Jews to own little pieces of Nazi memorabilia because it reminds you that, they were holding the puppet at this point, that reminds you that, the Nazis didn't win and that now they're just a joke. And at that moment,
they're like taunting the Nazi puppet.
They're like, haha, Nazi puppet. And then at that moment, the Nazi puppet turns on his flamethrower and burns them to death.
Yeah.
It was in bad taste.
Right.
Very funny.
More about the puppet. Here's the things that make you not able to take the puppet seriously is that they'll make it try to swagger off camera or swagger towards the camera like it's the cool guy walking away from the explosion, and it just looks like a 3-year-old is like right underneath the camera,
right, moving their little action figure back and forth furiously,
and throughout the entire thing it's all that, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah,
this horror movie is an interesting brand of horror that's simultaneously comedic horror and essentially gore porn.
Right.
There is no escaping how distasteful some of the kills in this one are.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're on a horror movie podcast, and so we're no shrinking violets to horror, but there were definitely deaths in this movie that just went, oh man.
Yeah, having
extreme.
Having a kid makes you much less interested in seeing kids in utero being ripped out of their mother.
Right. So let's go over the most interesting deaths.
My wife's pregnant right now.
Right. Right. If you got disturbed by Prometheus, the surgery scene in Prometheus,
this is much worse.
This is much worse. So let's go over some of the best / worst deaths. So the first one that pops to mind that will not escape your mind once you see it is the pregnancy one.
Yeah.
The puppet.
She was black. That's what she did.
Yeah.
Oh man. She was
crawls up her bed while she's watching TV, crawls into the birth canal.
And, tasteful.
And starts cutting through a point of view shot from her perspective.
She's looking down at her
belly,
birth canal.
She's looking down her belly, and the puppet cuts through viciously, and like an alien pops out with the fetus in arms, and then walks off.
I mean, like you said, this isn't new to us. I'm just saying, it didn't make me happy.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that you have to remind yourself, this is a movie. This is, you think all right, this is corn syrup and red dye, and it's not a real baby, but that is very disturbing.
One of the best metal bands out there is Dying Fetus, so
right.
I don't know what you're talking.
Right.
This is fine. My favorite one was the one, he was the gypsy. The dude watching the wrestling match, and then he gets up to go take a piss. and so he's taking a piss with his wiener out, peeing into the toilet, as one does. And then this helicopter puppet comes flying by and decapitates him. And his head falls into the toilet as he's peeing into the toilet.
Looking up.
And he pees into his own mouth, and you see his wiener peeing into his mouth.
You see the little glands, right?
It was
poking into the frame.
It was a beautifully orchestrated.
Yeah, I mean, that was, as far as horror deaths go, that should be on a classic list of horror deaths, because that was magnifique.
Academy, here we come.
Right. Because it was point of view, like looking down
from where his head would have been.
His head would have been. So you see like the blood splurting out of his neck, and you see the little tip of his weenie as it pees into this decapitated head in the toilet looking at the camera.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. Bravo, Puppet Master.
The other one, so we got the burning death, the baby.
You missed the blind man, the baby. Sorry, that's a Simpsons quote. I can't help myself sometimes.
The rest of them were just kind of stabbings, weren't they? Oh, no. There's one notable one where he cuts into the guy's spine.
Oh, that was the best one.
The puppet crawls in to the guy, and now he's a puppet. It's very meta.
And what was that puppet named?
Junior
Führer.
That's right, Junior Führer. And
it was a baby Hitler. It was a little baby Hitler doll.
Yeah, you don't get a really good shot of him as like the death is happening, but when they, cut him out and drag him out, then it's like a little baby crawling Hitler with a little toothbrush mustache and the hair.
I found a picture of him online that's very clear. Yeah. And so we'll include that on the post.
And the guy that was the puppet, I didn't confirm this, but he looked like the
puppet master?
No, the guy that had Junior Führer crawl into him and use him as a puppet.
Yeah.
That dude looked like the blonde henchman from Die Hard.
Okay, yeah.
But I didn't confirm that.
That he was the guy who I was confused about what the puppets had against him.
Right.
I still don't really know.
I know. Yeah, he looked real Aryan.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I thought maybe he was a gypsy. Now thinking back,
he was there, so that's what they had against him. I mean, after they
they don't
killed
need a whole
some
lot
of the. They just started killing everyone after that.
Yeah, it's just a bloodlusty sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of nudity in this movie. Like we already said, we saw a wiener. I think I counted like 7 boobs.
Yeah.
There was several sex scenes, at least 2. How else would I see all the boobs? Mm-hmm. It would be a little bit odd if it wasn't sex.
Some of them were dead boobs.
Yeah. That was the one.
I think 3 of them were dead boobs.
Mm. Oh,
there was the girl. There was the girl.
There was alive and then dead.
Bathtub.
Yeah, they had a porn star in there.
Yeah.
Bolted on.
Yeah, it was just the look that you can only get if you've been in porn and think, this is a good idea.
Yeah. The music on this movie, I found at first I thought it was delightful. Is because they have this great kind of like walk you through the history of Puppet Master montage, like animated montage clip show kind of thing when they're running the title or the credits at the start of the movie. And it was very like late 80s, early 90s slasher horror movie, like or straight to video horror movie. Just very, if you listen to it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But then throughout the movie, the music never changed. And it would just stayed this like bland kind of like.
Yeah, kind of strings, orchestral, kind of just wandering.
It was kind of like a inverted Harry Potter theme song.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about Full Moon Productions, because that is the owner of the Puppet Master franchise and probably the reason that studio even exists. But it holds a special place in my heart because we would go to Hollywood Video or LA Video before it was taken over by Hollywood Video, tragically. And we would always rent one movie that we actually wanted to see and the one terrible movie. And the terrible movie was always a Full Moon production, like a straight to video VHS thing. And I wouldn't be surprised, even in the age of the internet, that the ones that I watched or remembered just aren't even available anymore.
Wow.
Like Totem.
I remember you talking about Totem with some reverence.
The Horrible Mr. Bones.
That's the name of the movie?
Yeah. That one was on the level of like a what's that African country that does the action movies?
Oh, Uganda?
Uganda. It's close to a Uganda production in that it looks just like a shitty empty warehouse where they just filmed everything.
Oof.
And it wasn't very clear what was going on.
Can we just have a few? Can we just have a few more dollars? No, we're diverting all cash to the next Puppet Master remake.
So that movie studio, I had never seen any Puppet Master movies. I only saw the deep cuts from Full Moon Productions, but this definitely falls within the same genre of very cheap, very simple horror movies. And it would be interesting going back because the guy from The Room was in them, but looking at the cast of previous Puppet Master movies, that might be an interesting list to see who is in these shitty movies that you actually know now.
I'll tell you right now, Corey Feldman.
Awesome.
He was in the like the seventh or the eighth one where they pit.
So is this washed up Corey Feldman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think so. I think it was like in the mid 2000s.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And he played Toulon, or like a person with the name Toulon.
Andre Toulon. Note the pronunciation.
Sorry, Barbara. Jesus Christ, give me a break. He played someone with that last name, like who was carrying on the lineage or something like that. And that particular movie was pitting the puppets from Puppet Master against the toys from some other shitty movie.
Right. There was kind of a subgenre of horror movies around puppets and dolls. Because if you can remember, Child's Play was a phenomenon. Yeah. And I think Puppet Master was a reaction to that, straight to video, but it also did very, very well. I'm not sure
none of these saw theatrical release.
None of them saw theatrical release, but they're well enough known that like I had heard about Puppet Master because you saw them all over the place.
I wonder if what is it, Full Moon?
Yep.
I wonder if Full Moon has done as well, or I don't know how to phrase this question, but are they like on par with Trauma? Or is Trauma's pretty big?
Trauma's probably more well known.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever I said Full Moon, I never met anyone that understood what that meant.
Did Full Moon do Thanksgiving?
This sounds like something that they do.
I
think Full Moon also did Jack Frost.
Yeah.
The one with the killer snowman.
Right.
Not the what's his name?
Tim Allen?
Oh, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton has a Jack Frost movie.
I just think Christmas movie, and I think Tim Allen every time.
Yeah, the Jack Frost movie, notable for Shannon Elizabeth pre-American Pie, gets raped by a snowman with a carrot penis.
You heard it here first, folks. Yep.
Unless you've seen it.
Penis.
Yeah. It was
raping Shannon Elizabeth.
It was a disturbing scene.
I'm a little turned on. So who do you think just would not like this movie? Because I can think of quite a few people who would be, especially today.
Are you talking about people that like horror movies in general, or
no? I'm just talking about who would definitely hate this movie.
Most people.
That's probably fair. That's I don't know. I think if you have a decent sense of humor, you'll like it.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have that much leeway for your taste to just put your taste on hold and just say, I'm gonna enjoy this for schlock value.
I have to believe that more people than just us, I mean, and people vaguely like us would like this movie. I don't think your wife would. My wife would love this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think most people, here's what it is. Anyone under the age of 16 is going to love this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it's inappropriate for them, but that's,
Yeah.
Who's going to see it? Who should see it?
I'll tell you what.
That's the appropriate
people's
age.
reaction to this movie will be vastly different depending on who they watch it with and how many people they watch it with.
Right. It's definitely a good movie to watch with friends to make fun of.
Yes. If you watch it with someone whose opinion you're worried about, what they think of you, you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah. Who would like it is people that love schlock and love watching low quality horror movies for
this is a
gore and killings that aren't going to be found in, the realer reality-based horror movies that are in the theaters.
This is the highest quality, low-quality movie I may have ever seen. In the style of straight to streaming, with that, not like Unfriended or Unfriended Dark Web, which had a budget of $1 million, which is fairly low budget. But, and managed to turn a decent profit. But this is intentionally low budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in Unfriended, they still, it looks low.
In Dark Web?
Quality.
Oh, in both of them.
It's artificial bad quality because it looks like a screen capture. But you got to hire, graphic artists and people to make those interfaces and stuff. Movie like this is you just got to hire someone to mix a lot of fake blood and go to a Goodwill and buy some baby parts.
Get the blood handlers in here. Rain that blood in. Rain in blood. So here's a question for the audience. How many Puppet Master movies have you seen? Have you seen a bunch? Have you seen none? And if you have seen some, my question is, are you familiar with the puppets? Because and you got to check out the Wikipedia page for this Puppet Master movie. It is very clear to me that the people who watch Puppet Master love Puppet Master more than people love bands. Like this Wikipedia page is a labor of love, and it has like a cool grid system where it shows which puppets show in which movies. Some of them are in every single movie. Some are only in one movie. This had the Happy Lizard puppet, which is a new puppet. I believe also Baby Führer, Junior Führer was.
Yeah, I'm not sure. See, that's the thing with the exposition in the beginning. It gives the backstory, but very quickly you realize into the movie that most of these puppets are known to fans of the movie, and it doesn't really give any kind of explanation of what they are, what their special powers or what makes them unique necessarily. There's at least 3 puppets that look almost exactly the same to me, with the skull head, and they've got a hook on their hand.
The reason for that, and I know what you're talking about, and the audience, our listening audience, will be confused by this because yes, you're right, but the reason for that is, so there is one puppet, I can't remember his name, but he's the main puppet in Puppet Master. He's got a hook for one hand and a blade for another hand. Mm-hmm. There were multiple of him in this movie because this was a convention where people all brought their puppets. So there was multiples.
Okay.
There was a couple tunnelers. There was a couple pinheads. There was a couple of all the different puppets.
So yeah, it felt like watching this, not seeing any of the previous movies, that there must have been more of an introduction to these puppets and more understanding of what their unique abilities are. I'm probably giving it too much credit. There's not that much to explain at all. No. Just see, okay, this one's big and strong and rips people's arms off. Simple. You don't need much more explanation than that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of them that are just random. They're all just puppets that kill people. Don't overthink it, I guess.
It makes me want to see the other Puppet Master movies, which is not going to bode well for us.
One of the ideas that I thought that we could do for the podcast, and I ran this by David, and he begrudgingly agreed that it might be a good idea, is sitting down and watching an entire series.
Oh, dear God.
Like an entire, what do you call it? Franchise?
Yeah.
Of movies, and doing an episode as like a master guide.
See, my problem with that is it's so much movie watching for so little content. Like,
right.
Like with this, we watched one Puppet Master movie. We were fortuitous enough that it was a good one, and we get about, I don't know, maybe an hour worth of content out of it. That's great. If we watch 12 Puppet Master movies and get 2 hours of content, that's very bad bang for my buck. That's, ugh.
So maybe that's the question to the audience. Would you...
No.
Would you like to make David sit through 12 Puppet Master movies just to get an episode that goes over all the Puppet Master movies?
I'll find a way to make it give us some bang for the buck. I'll split it up into quarters or something like that and make each one be 2 hours. You won't like it if you say yes. Well, you will like it. I mean, I don't know what I mean.
I don't know what to do.
By the way, I did some look-ins, and the Puppet Master comic is printed by Action Lab Entertainment. So check them out. Yeah. So at this point, I think we can move on to our next segment, which is taglines. But taglines today is being brought to you guys by Unrelenting Eternal Sadness. Life too good? Nothing to be unhappy about? Too many blessings to count? We have the existential solution for you. Unrelenting Eternal Sadness, or Use, is the new craze sweeping the nation. Warning, use may cause suicidal thoughts, irritable bowel, and over/undereating. Use, when life is too good and needs to be made worse. Check out Unrelenting Eternal Sadness at their website, itdoesn'tgetbetter.com. Here's taglines. Yay! Tell us if you liked that. I loved that.
Right.
That was my favorite. Okay, so I'll go first. So the way taglines works is this is a segment where we think of a few taglines that would go well for this movie. Usually jokes, but I mean, we're not that funny. So if they end up being good taglines, well, so be it. There's a freebie for you, Puppet Master, the Littlest Reich, if you come away with something. Mm-hmm. So my first one is, when these little pricks are in.
Okay.
Like, is it in? Well,
I get it. Because it's a dick joke.
Yeah, it's a dick joke.
Get it. Right.
I should have fleshed that out better. Fleshed it.
Trust me, mine are god awful this round.
Good.
Puppet Master, the Littlest Reich. You're the puppet now.
Boo.
I don't know.
You're the puppet now. Actually, he did turn that one guy into a puppet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works.
All right, here's one. These puppets don't need a hand when it comes to killing. A hand, puppets.
Because puppets.
Yeah.
Mine's close. I got a similar themed one. I got no strings to hold me down.
Ooh, that one's rather serious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you thought Trump was a Nazi puppet. I was pretty proud of that one.
Political. The Jew-hating Geppetto.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I like it. I thought the way you made it hang. I got two more. This one's bad. First there were shadow puppets, then there were finger puppets. Now the puppets have gone all mashugana. That's funny because it's so bad.
That's the front runner right there. That's
the sugar.
That's the level that we're at on this round.
Let's see here. Puppet Master, the Littlest Reich, almost tall enough to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
You get what you get. So let's see here. What else have we got? Oh, I went to Slayer's final tour. They came through Ridgefield, Washington, which is a kind of a suburb of Portland, Oregon, and they played a show with Lamb of God and Testament and Anthrax and Napalm Death, and I don't think I'm missing anybody. And it was spectacular. It was the best. I think I'm going to say it was the best show I've ever been to, even though the stadium had fixed seating. It was still very, very, very good. It was just so much fun. And I mean, there's this thing about Slayer concerts where they just, the energy level is far and away much, much higher than any other even for metal shows, the energy is pretty high. Slayer concerts just take it and just double it just right off the bat. And, I don't know. I just had a spectacular time.
Yeah. David invited me and it is not my thing.
What? Why not?
Yeah. I don't know. Every time David, we have very different musical tastes. Every time David sends me a metal track that he's really into, it sounds to me like someone shoved a dumpster filled with tin cans down 2 flights of stairs. And I'm like,
isn't this great?
And I'm like, yeah, it's very interesting. Huh. All right.
Good.
And, yeah, and the vocalists that you can't understand a single word that they're saying.
I'm endlessly impressed by metal vocalists.
Yeah.
They are so talented. I mean, to do that and never lose your voice is incredible. And I mean, it's not a safe thing either. Like, I think the guy from Avenged Sevenfold actually burst a blood vessel in his throat and he can't sing anymore.
Yeah, the answer is they probably don't do it safely, most of them. It's impressive if they have a long career. I'm sure the guy in Slayer is doing it right. And also, it's kind of interesting. I bet behind the scenes there's a very non-metal vocal coach.
Oh yeah, man.
That's guiding them through the same exercises that I did when I was studying vocal performance.
Yeah.
And you just got to know how the voice works. I mean, I listen to it and I'm also impressed by it. I don't like it. It's not pleasing to me. I don't think it's meant to be. But
it's so pleasing.
It's
hackles
very interesting
up.
what they do with their voice to make it sound like that.
So like with Slayer and Anthrax and like Testament, like these thrash bands, the voice thing isn't such an issue because they're not really like doing this like these like growls and these things that can really just destroy or these like incredible, just like guttural screams. Like they're kind of like yelling. They're just kind of yelling talk. Right.
Right.
And so for them, it's probably not so hard for like Tom Araya of Slayer to like, have a 30-year career and come out. He sounds good, in interviews. He doesn't sound like he's shot his voice or anything like that. And I mean, same. This is Judas Priest album, Firepower, that just got released this year. The guy sounds as good as the first album they ever released.
Right.
But
he's like a real singer though. I mean,
they're all real singers.
Well, I mean, like his vocal tone is like true singing. And he's a rock vocalist. And so there's growl in it, but
I mean,
it's not like it sounding like a stuck pig, which some of them do.
Yeah, but you can't say real vocalists because they're getting. I mean, these people are worth millions of dollars because they sing in a metal band.
I know they're all real vocalists, but I'm talking about using traditional vocal technique. I don't know how to say it. That won't offend your sensibilities. Anyway,
if anybody still has a chance to go see Slayer's farewell tour, it's fabulous. My one thing that I was bummed about is Anthrax didn't play I Am the Law. I'm a huge Judge Dredd fan. I love the comics. I love the movies, except for Judge Dredd. I mean, Judge Dredd is fun because it's what it is, but and it has Rob Schneider in it. But yeah, they didn't play I Am the Law, and I was upset by that. But other than that, spectacular, and you should go check it out. They're just on the tag end of their tour, so yeah, go check it out. So, did you have anything else you wanted to cover? Did we get everything?
Nope.
Okay. So with that, thanks again for listening. If you like the episode, please subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. If you have a buddy or group of friends that you like seeing horror movies with, please share the podcast with them. You know, it helps us. If you don't like the podcast or have no friends, keep it to yourself, you asshole. We're trying as hard as we can. No, just kidding. We actually love feedback. So please leave a comment on our blog or on the review page, where you can find our podcast on our website, or drop us a line on Twitter or Facebook. Constructive feedback is always appreciated. And, if you leave us some, you can expect to hear it improved on in the next show. And probably a personal thanks as well. Let's see here. This episode, I'd like to thank Garrett and Justin, who've been giving us some great feedback and critiques that have helped us to dial the pod in a little bit more. So thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Until next time, we're Bryce and David, and this was Horror Movie Talk. Bye-bye.